Guys, there are spoilers for this film in this review, so if you don't want to get hunted, go out, watch film, then come back. You have been warned. Hey guys, welcome back to another week of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Brolin HD. So yeah, this is going to be a great time. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Brolin HD, and this week we watched The Running Man, an adaptation of the 1982 novel of the same name by Stephen King, or Robert Bachman as a pseudonym. It was directed by Edgar Wright and starring Josh Brolin and Glen Powell. Now, I think this film was very entertaining. Right, I think I've watched the original, 1987 film, and I think this film was way more enjoyable for me. Both films have their place, but I just think this film was a very good time. It was very, intense in some scenes, and I just very, very much had a good time. But, before we go on a whole tangent, why I like this film, I'll tell you why I like this film and more. Back at the house.
You better run! I got a grenade! Back at you. I'm still here, you shit eaters.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Ticket Tuesday. I'm your host, Ronan Time HD, and this week we watched The Running Man. It is a thriller action film. It is an adaptation of the 1982 novel by Robert Bachman, aka the legendary Stephen King, the second Robert Bachman adaptation we've gotten this year, which is kind of funny. Just a testament to Stephen King as a writer, I suppose. However, this film was directed by Edgar Wright. This is also starring Glen Powell and Josh Brolin. And also there was, just to mention, there was also an original 1987 adaptation of The Running Man. Well, originally they said this was a remake of that. They switched gears and said it was an adaptation of the book and not a remake of the original, Running Man film from 87. But they still did reference the original Running Man from 87 with having Arnold on the money, which I thought was a very nice touch. However, I think this film is better than the original Arnold Schwarzenegger film for a couple reasons. I think, one, I really do like how Glen Powell's kind of like the everyman, right? He's kind of like a down on his luck guy trying to help out his family by, trying to overcome the odds, you know what I mean? So obviously he's easy to root for, right? And I think he's just kind of a dude, right? He's not like a really strong, buff, like ex-military or ex-cop like Arnold was in the original Running Man. He's just a guy, right? And that kind of shows in the fight scenes because there aren't really that many fight scenes in a traditional sense. They're more like chase scenes. He's just kind of running from people trying to kill him. And if he does kill people, it's from him being more tricky and less about his brute power. Which I do like because obviously these professional killers would be much more efficient at killing him than him, just a random, nobody on the street, basically. And I think this film, I think it just has a lot more believability in the film's sense, right? I think, obviously, there aren't fucking opera singing guys with electric powers, right, in this one. The hunters didn't have gimmicks. They were stone cold killers, right? They were just there to fuck you up, kill you, end the games. That's what they were there for. And I enjoyed that more. It made the hunters gave them more of a threatening presence. You know, it made them more, I guess, intimidating as legitimate threats in the film more than just jokes that get killed off 20 minutes after they're introduced, right? Just basically, I guess, obstacles for the main character to go through. Though they're still kind of obstacles, they're not getting killed off immediately after they're introduced, okay? They're not that level. I also think I really did enjoy also how he's kind of on his own in this film. while he does get help from some outside forces, like some good Samaritans, he's mostly on his own, and he doesn't, like, in the original one, he had a team, right? His, like, friends who he broke out of prison with, and then there was, like, this reporter who was trying to discover the truth, but then he got forced into the games. That stuff. Which, I mean, obviously being a cheesy 80s action movie, you had to have, like, the smart guy, and then you had to have the friend, and the obviously, you had to have the girl. She was only there to be the girl, really, because it was the 80s action movie. This one, there is characters similar to that. Like, there's the smart one in Michael Cera. There's, he doesn't really have, like, a best friend in this, like, archetype. Because he's mostly on his own. He probably doesn't have that many friends to begin with. But there is, like, a friend guy and this girl, but they're not really a team. They're kind of off doing their own thing. And I did like how this film was solely about Ben Richards. He didn't really have a group. While he did have people helping him, there were people here and there. They were not like a team or a part of his Running Man group. They were just good Samaritans trying to help him out, which I appreciated. I like that it was basically a story just about him and, like, being the underdog, right? Kind of David versus Goliath thing. And also a bit of a revolutionary, him trying to, like, be the igniter, I believe is what they said. He's got to ignite the flame to start the revolution, right? That was more the theme. And while they kind of touched on that in the original Running Man, they didn't really go that deep into it. Like, it was kind of in the background, right? The whole focus of the original film was just big guy beats up people, right? That was basic, which again is fine, but it's not that deep, right? But also talking about the original film, one thing I did not really like about the original was the fact that they had, like, a little enclosed space, like a area, like a fighting area, and they could only be in that area. When the premise of the Running Man is, like, he's running. He has the whole country, basically, to run from the hunters, right? That's what makes the premise interesting to me, is that he can get into these altercations and get into these, like, dangerous situations, just regular urban areas, right? Like, I thought that was what the interesting premise was, and they do that in this film, and it's very entertaining. He obviously has to, like, duck and dive. He has to run away from these hunters trying to kill him in, like, apartment complexes, underground houses, other stuff like that. Highways. There's a bunch of different places for the hunters to hunt him, right? And obviously, I won't go into every difference here because I'd be here all day, but those are the ones that I noticed and especially appreciated. While this film was not perfect, I do think, it's not perfect, but I did enjoy most of it, right? I really did enjoy it. It was more of an action thriller. I think more of an action film than a thriller, but it still had some thriller elements in there. There were quite a few intense action scenes that I quite enjoyed. I really did like how the main hunter, the one with the mask, I think it was called McCone, I believe was his name. I thought he was a good, he wasn't the main antagonist, because obviously Josh Brolin is the evil CEO of the network. Of course, he was the main bad guy. I thought McCone was a decent secondary antagonist. I think he also had decent, presence. He had a, I guess, intimidating aura about him. Since obviously he's the number one hunter, of course he's going to be intimidating. Like, he's a badass just killing people, of course. I think I like the ending of this one, because it also kind of reminded me of the ending of the original film, in the sense that in, one of the new episodes of The Running Man, basically, they're, trying to run the episode, but then, these rebels, the resistance are there, and then they crash the show, and they start killing the guards and causing havoc, right? And then eventually the host is killed by Ben Richards, right? Ben Richards gets his revenge. He vowed that he was gonna fuck him up, right, at the beginning of the movie, and he fulfilled his promise, right? He killed him. But that's what Arnold does, kind of. So obviously it's way less fleshed out, because the crowd, basically the whole crowd, were resistance members, right? They had formed a rebellion, and obviously Ben Richards had ignited the flame of the resistance, like Michael Cera said he was going to do, especially with the release of his newsletter that would reveal the truth about the Running Man, right? So it wasn't necessarily, because in the original Arnold film, it was like these freedom fighters kind of bursting in and crashing the party. It was the crowd crashing the party themselves, like completely turning on the show, which I thought was a nice twist on it. And I thought it made more sense, obviously, with the resistance thing being a pretty central theme of the film, being anti-authoritarian, you know, yeah, I guess rising up against the system, breaking from your corporate chains. You know, I did appreciate that the ending was more concise in that way. However, I've just kind of been going on a rant, going on a tangent lately. Overall, I very much did enjoy this film. Not perfect, but I think as an action thriller, it's very solid, and I think it is definitely worth your time if you're a fan of the original story, if you're a fan of the 87 film. I definitely think there's a lot to enjoy about this, and I think you should watch it. I'd recommend it on that. I mean, as I said, it's not perfect, but it's a jolly good time. It's a jolly good show, okay? And I think you could get enjoyment out of it. And with that being said, what would I rate this film? You know, I think I would rate this film a 7.5 out of 10. And, yeah, I think I've said what I need to say. I think I've said my piece. So, guys, I hope you like this video. Share with friends, subscribe, turn those notifications on. Comment down below how much you liked it. But you guys know how it goes. I didn't really mean to say that. What I really meant to say is if you guys hated this video, unsubscribe, dislike, and change in the comments. And I've been Twitch off to win the Running Man. You know, I don't want to win the Running Man because I don't think I got I don't got the physique for it. You know, I don't got the energy for it. I'd probably die pretty quickly, you know, with the whole world trying to kill me and shit. I don't got the connections. I probably couldn't handle a gun very well. I'm short, so I could probably fit in, small compact spaces. So maybe that would be a plus, you know? So, I was watching this movie, right? And at, I think the beginning of the movie, they had, money. They had $100 bills, and they had Arnold Schwarzenegger on the bills. And I thought that, it wasn't, broad attention. It was, a little Easter egg. And I'm like, that's a nice little reference to the original Running Man. Even though I haven't read the book, so I can't personally say, but I've heard the original Arnold movie is not accurate to the book whatsoever, and I can understand that. And in general, I just think it's funny, though. It's very funny, but it's definitely of the time. I don't know. I'm just waffling here. Either way, Running Man, both have a place, but I feel like one does a lot more with its premise. Hey, guys, and welcome back to a... Oh, shit, I didn't do the spoiler warning.